we're really flying by the skin of our teeth today, Chris. Ooh,
dude, you're not kidding.
Boy,
I had the graphic ready to fly solo for a little while and everything, and man, it's low quality Corey today already. Like you're already kind of been freezing a bit.
It's the lowest quality today. Good afternoon, everybody. This is, of course, the Southside Beat, as we are every Monday through Friday, 3 to 3:30. This is going to be
boy.
But we're here for it. We're really here for it. I just got back in from the locker room. I'm nestled in on a corner here. The lights are actually on this time on the indoor facility. So I actually have a little bit of lighting today.
If you're not in the normal spot, man, because it's already not great.
We're not in the normal spot.
It's already not great.
Chris, we
have no quality Corey right now.
Yeah, Chris is gonna have to take the show today.
No, if Corey can't handle, we'll do it. But yeah, it's definitely low quality for sure. Well, while we have you, Corey, why don't you fill us in on what happened today? Obviously, I know Broderick Jones addressed the media today. I know Kenny Pickett addressed the media today on a normal quarterback Wednesday. So give us no res, Corey Barber coming in. Yeah, it's like watching videos on AOL like back in like 2001 with dial-up internet. That's what it feels like.
Not great.
When you're trying to load the music videos and you just can't watch them.
As quickly as I can do this, and you might have to take the show over from this point.
You're good.
And I'll just hop offline. Broderick Jones and Dan Moore, they still don't know who's starting at left tackle on Sunday. That's the basic bottom line of the whole situation. Now, I would have the indication that it's still going to be Dan Moore or Broderick Jones. I don't see how that has changed over the week. We will have an injury report today to discuss.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that shakes out. Kenny Pickett spoke today. I will have more on DK Pittsburgh. There's already a video of Kenny on our YouTube page, the same YouTube page you're listening to live. So, Chris, I'm going to go because the quality is bad today. It's just undoable today. So I will let you take over. I'll give you the solo banner if you can do that. And then I will talk to you all tomorrow.
All right. See you, Corey. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
This is legitimate, like, live stuff, man. This is just great. So with no Corey today, you guys are really hopping into the co-host chair. So bring all your questions, bring your comments. We'll talk about it all, man. It's great. But definitely Corey brought up a couple of things. Obviously Broderick Jones talking today. We still don't know yet when it comes to who's starting at left tackle. That's pour one out for Corey today. You got to pour one out for him. Still don't know who's starting at left tackle. Now, based off of what I've kind of seen in the past on how Mike Tomlin's handled this really could go anyway. And really I wouldn't put it past Mike Tomlin to be kind of playing, maestro a little bit with the media, it seems like right now, I mean, Tomlin's even admitted it. He will give something to the media to have them write about that. Like he will just, that's just, he admitted it earlier this year. He's like, no, I gave you guys a line, so you guys had something to write about. And Teresa kind of brings it up. Do you think this Jones narrative is just a smokescreen? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that it could be a situation in which Mike Tomlin is just playing his cards close to the chest for whatever reason. It could just be he doesn't want to he doesn't want to tell it. He also might be saying, like, listen, like, especially when it comes to a rookie, one thing that I really, really get from Mike Tomlin, and I actually kind of agree with this, you don't want to feel like a rookie is just handed a job. Right? You want to feel like he's earning it. And so before you even go into a game in which he thinks he might be starting, Tomlin might be like, well, I'm not going to tell him that. Even if he's thinking, yeah, I am going to start Broderick, he might be in a situation where it's like, yeah, but I want him to go in and really, really still fight as if it's maybe not his job just yet. Keep him hungry. And honestly, we've seen him do that before, the way he handles players. And So it could be that. Like I don't know. It could be one thing where like Tomlin's doing this, savvy little coaching thing, or it is just a situation in which no, he really is that committed to Dan Moore. Obviously, the injury report will tell us something too. How much was Dan Moore a participant? Even if Corey saw with his own two eyes how much Dan participated or lack thereof, it's got to be confirmed to him verbally after practice. Yeah, it's just the way it is. So, and HMJ077 says, did Dan Moore really mess up so bad that he has to lose his job? Performance-wise, he hasn't been great. I've got a Chalk Talk piece coming out later today, focusing mainly on Najee and Jalen, by the way. So be on the lookout for that. But obviously, when we start talking about the running game at all, you have to look at the offensive line. And just from watching the film that I did to do this piece on Najee and Jalen, like you see what the offensive line is doing. And like in one play that I put out there, Broderick Jones is blocking on one of them and Dan Moore is blocking on the other one. And Broderick just looks better. He just does. Now, guys lose their jobs to injury because of injuries all the time. It's not fair, but it happens. If the next guy who steps up just plays, it's hard to go away from that. It is. It happened to. The prime example that comes to me when it comes to the Steelers is obviously when Ben Roethlisberger took over Tommy Maddox's job. Ben Roethlisberger didn't become the starter because Bill Cowher decided he was the starter. He became the starter because Tommy Maddox got injured. Now, Ben stepped up, played phenomenally, and to the point where when Maddox was healthy, there was no way Cowher was going to go back. It happens. Players lose their jobs due to injuries all the time. It's not fair, but it happens. That's bad. Says, did the bye week fix Canada's play calling, Kenny's happy feet, and the line's ability to block? Now, when it comes to Kenny's happy feet, that's just going to be something that is going to have to be fixed over time. That's one bye week is not going to magically fix that. It's something that he's going to have to get better with, that internal clock of knowing, okay, I have this amount of time on this type of play, knowing based off of what the defense that I'm seeing before the snap, I have 1.5 seconds, or I've got 2 seconds, or however much time before I have to, improvise. That's just something that comes with time. And it was something that we saw on Kenny's college tape. He left the pocket way too early. He had the happy feet then. That was going to be a problem going into the NFL. The question is, how does he best eradicate that? How does he best fix that? When it comes to Canada's play calling and the line's ability to block, it seemed like magically the bye week fixed it last year. The Steelers went from not being able to run the ball in the first half of the season to being one of the best in the NFL at running the ball in the second half of the season. They averaged 146 yards a game on the ground in the second half of the season. That's great. Those are phenomenal numbers. You will take that every single year if you can average that much on the ground. It's not juggernaut level, but it's absolutely productive. If the bye week magically fixes it again this year, then great. But the answer is, let's see what happens on Sunday. That really is, we're just going to have to wait. You would hope that they really fix some stuff, that Canada saw the plays that were working, saw the plays that aren't working, saw that this particular sequence, okay, that doesn't work. Certain plays may work against, this type of defense, but not against this type of defense. It's just, the bye week is the time to really kind of address that stuff and figure it out, because now they've had a body of work to see, okay, you go into a season with a certain idea. Okay, these ideas actually did work the way we thought we would. These other ideas don't. We need to alter this because this is what defenses are actually showing us. They when Deontay's not in there, they're going all over George. I mean, the Raiders gave no respect whatsoever to the other receivers on the field. One of the main reasons why I think Calvin Austin got the deep touchdown he did, because when they're in cover one and the safety of the one safety up top is all the way over to George Pickens' side of the field, leaving 3 receivers and a tight end wide open on the other side, that's zero respect for any other receiver on the field. Right. So like you see little things like that. And then you're like, okay, well, when Deontay comes back, defenses aren't going to be doing that. So now how is that going to open things up for George? You look at that's just an example of, okay, this is what defenses are showing. How do we adjust? Let's go through here. Randy asks, Chris, if you were the Steelers offensive play caller, how would you attack the Rams defense? So actually through looking, and I have an in-depth preview of the Rams up on DKPittsburghSports.com right now, so you can go read it. The Rams are obviously very, very strong on the interior up front. Aaron Donald is there. He's Aaron Donald. I don't need to go into any details there. Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. He's on pace for, I think, the second most tackles and the second most tackles for losses in a season in his career. Like that's what he's on pace for. He's still a monster. So they're obviously really, and Turner's a really good defensive tackle too. So they're strong in the middle. Their edge rushers are, especially against the run, aren't as great. And this is a Rams defense that is allowing about 122 yards on the ground. I think that's 22nd in the league. They're not shutting teams down on the ground, and they're weakest on the edge. Now, that actually plays into what the Steelers do. The Steelers are predominantly an outside zone concept running game. Like that's what they want to do more often than not. Why is that? Why, have Najee, who seems like a guy who would be better off running north-south, running to the outside? Well, the main reason is because the primary reason that you want Najee Harris, or the primary reason that you run outside zone, is to create one-on-ones in space between the running back and the opposing cornerback. If you can do that, if you can block it that way, it obviously depends on what the defense is showing. You're not always going to be able to do that, either because the box is loaded and you have to use an extra guy to block down on somebody, whatever it is. But that's what you want to create. You want to create those one-on-one matchups in space. And when you talk about Najee Harris, big, power, strong, can run guys over, can hurdle over guys. That's what you want. You want to create those matchups. And so that's why they predominantly run outside zone. It should play into this because the Rams aren't as strong defending the run on the edge as they are in the middle. They have a really good off-ball linebacker, who can stop the run. So they're pretty good up the middle. Safety, not so much, but obviously you're talking more in the passing game there. So this might be an opportunity to attack the middle of the field, deep down the field. I know what the reaction is to that. Oh, Canada attacking the middle of the field. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm just saying it might be there. The Rams aren't that great at safety. So maybe attack the middle of the field. They're better at corner than they are at safety, even though their one corner is, their one corner got arrested, and who knows if he's actually going to be playing. Robert asks, Chris, what? Here we go. I clicked on it. Okay, it's not showing up. I don't know why. There we go. Chris, are you doing the show on Friday by yourself? I think so. And this is actually a good test for it because, low quality Corey turned into no quality Corey. And so we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. And so, but I think the plan right now is to do that. Yeah, Corey has to travel to cover Pitt. So I think that's the plan right now. So you guys bring your questions, bring your comments. You guys are the co-hosts, man. You guys are the co-hosts. Bring your questions, bring your comments. Let's talk Steelers football. It's Wednesday right now, so obviously we're still kind of in the early stages of being a little bit more Steelers focused. Obviously, as we get closer and closer to the end of the week, especially Friday, we're going to be a little bit more focused on the Rams, what they do. But I mean, we could talk about that now if you want to. I mean, really, yeah. Robert says trial by fire. Yeah, that's what this is. I mean, and when you do a live show, you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to do things on the fly. That's just part of it. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what the Steelers actually do against this Rams team. Because first off, this Rams team is not a pushover. Like that, I think a lot of people, including myself. Thank you, Brent. I really appreciate it. Saying, dude, great job. I appreciate it. Listen, like this, I think a lot of people going into the season thought the Rams were going to be one of the worst teams in football. I thought that too. I think when I did my league wide prediction at the start, I think I had them going like 4-13 or 5-12, something like that. It was like I had no respect for them. And shame on me, because Sean McVay's a really good head coach. He just is. He's proved that, not just because of winning a Super Bowl, but he's just a really good coach. And veteran quarterback who knows how to play, who's won a Super Bowl now, Hall of Fame defensive tackle who's still able to play on the other side of the ball, plus, some weapons. You get Cooper Kupp back. Shame on a lot of people for not thinking the Rams were at least going to be, even if they're the third best in their division behind the 49ers, who look pretty much unbeatable, which I know, like, how did the Browns do that? Like, I don't know, but the 49ers are still, to me, the best team in football. And then the Seahawks are pretty good too. So even if they're the third best team in their division, doesn't mean that they're a bad football team. I guess I'm Christian Bale right now, Batman with no Robin. That makes me Christian Bale, and definitely not Val Kilmer or George Clooney. I do not have Chris O'Donnell next to me. No, I don't. And the Rams mimicking the Niners. I mean, listen, it's copycat league. I mean, it just is. And so this is going to be a challenge for the Steelers offense for sure. Especially, we've all seen the issues with the Steelers team. They're apparent. You hope that they get some things figured out during the bye week. The main thing that they really need to figure out is how to get that running game going. No rushing touchdowns in the first 5 games of the season. That's unacceptable, especially for a team that, even when Art Rooney II says the main objective of this season on offense is to score more points. I mean, running the football was absolutely something that the Steelers planned on doing and wanted to do. We didn't get to really see that week 1 because they fell behind so fast, and they had to become one-dimensional a little, way too early in the game. Brent, really appreciate it. Gifted 5 subscriptions. Appreciate it, man. Justin coming in with a $5 contribution. Thank you so much. But, for a team that that wants to run the football, and it's very, very obvious that they do. They want to run the football. They got to do it. That they have to. That's something they have to figure out, because everything else on the Steelers offense really, really, like, the running game is what gets everything else going. It's what gets play action going. It's what gets the passing game going. You have to be able to run the football. That's what this offense is built to do, right? They have a second-year quarterback who is not polished in the passing game. He has some strengths in the passing game. There are no questions there. There are also some flaws that have to be fixed, and those aren't immediate fixes. It's not snap your fingers and all of a sudden Kenny's going to be, Joe Cool, ice in his veins in the pocket. He's going to have to learn how to do that over time. So you have a strong running game to aid everything else. Run the football. You can then run play action. It makes teams more honest, makes them come up closer to the line of scrimmage, which they pretty much already do anyway, and try to kill them over the top. They've been able to do that at times. Obviously, George Pickens, that touchdown was a long touchdown pass. Calvin Austin, that was a long touchdown pass. The touchdown pass to Pickens against the Ravens, that was one over the top, with a really good check at the line of scrimmage. They've been able to do that, but it's just been few and far between, and they need to be able to do it. Mark asks, play action, what's that? Yeah, I'd love to see more play action. Yeah, and Robert brings this up when it comes to Deontay. I like to see Deontay get a touchdown just to quiet the critics. Like, listen, people who really, really want to pay attention to and really pay attention to how the game is played should know that no touchdowns for Deontay Johnson last year was not an indictment on Deontay Johnson. Like, was it, like, did he carry some blame for that? Yeah, of course he did. Like, there's never like, oh, it's 100% Matt Canada's fault, or it's 100% Kenny Pickett's fault, or it's 100% Deontay's fault. There's always blame to go around when it comes to things not working out on the football field. there were opportunities for Deontay to get into the end zone last year. Granted, there weren't all that many. They didn't get to the red zone very often. When they did get to the red zone, they didn't convert very well. And a lot of that is just overall offensive issues. It's not just one guy. It's overall off. When the team is that bad in the red zone, and believe it or not, the Steelers are even worse in the red zone this year than they were last year. Now, Deontay hasn't been there all year, so like outside of like 3 quarters. But yeah, and Bob brings up 3-4 of Deontay's yak wasn't getting to the line of scrimmage. Like I did a breakdown on Deontay's like yak and stuff like that, over the summer, and the routes that he's having to run. I mean, it's a lot of stuff coming back to the line of scrimmage. If you want Deontay Johnson to get yak, you have to give him passes where he's going to catch the ball on the run. Now, that's something that I was really encouraged about in the first game of the season, because Kenny misses the throw, but Deontay's wide open on a deep post. I think third series of the game, wide open on a post. Now Kenny misses the throw, but if he makes that throw, Deontay's wide open. That's a massive gain. And if Deontay makes a guy miss, maybe even a touchdown. The slant over the middle beats the linebacker. Why you have a linebacker lined up on Deontay Johnson? That's just stupid. Even for the 49ers, like, I don't care. You can never have a linebacker on Deontay. Beats the linebacker if Kenny doesn't put it behind him and pretty much throw it on his butt and actually puts it right where he's supposed to. That's a layup touchdown. So that's it's not all Deontay. I can tell you that right now. Deontay knows how to play. He's a phenomenal route runner. He knows how to get open. He gets elite separation. Deontay coming back is going to do quite a bit for this offense. Now, does that mean it's going to translate to a 400-yard performance? Does that mean it's going to translate to 25 points or 30 points? No, there are a lot of other issues that have to be fixed, but Deontay coming back is definitely going to help. Brent asks, how's Cam doing on his recovery? Any time frame? Looks like he's been to every game doing what he can from the sideline. That's just a captain being a captain. He's going to be there. Unless for whatever reason his rehab or whatever else keeps him from the sideline, he's going to be there helping out. That's just a captain being a captain. And Deontay was doing the same thing. I know Deontay is not a captain, but Deontay was right there. He traveled, got a chance to speak to him for just a second down in Houston. Same thing with Cam. Like, yeah, those guys they're going to be there for their team. Those guys are leaders. In terms of when he's going to be able to come back, I'm honestly not too sure. I think based on the initial prognosis, like early to mid-November, maybe. So we might be still a few weeks away from that. Robert says, I heard King is gone. I don't think it's official yet, but yeah, I think the Steelers are they're going to release him if they can't find a trade partner. I think that's been the report from NFL Network. And then they're reportedly signing Darius Rush off of the, I think, Chiefs practice squad. So that should and honestly, with Desmond King, it's like he returned. He played one defensive snap. He didn't look great doing kicks or doing kick returns. He's the 53rd man on the roster. And we could debate that all. I don't think most people will debate that, but obviously the Steelers weren't seeing very much from Desmond King because there was always all these questions of why isn't he playing? Why isn't Desmond King playing? Why? And it's like, well, we might have our answer. Like they just didn't see anything worth playing. Yeah. So Joan saying thank you for the gifted membership. Yeah, thank you guys so much for giving those. You guys are awesome. And again, anything that we want to do with the show, just like, subscribe, share the show as much as you can. By the way, I looked at the page views. The Tony Romo impression on Friday is not looking too good. I don't know, Jim. It's not looking too good. I think we're still like 7,500 or something like that page views away from 10,000 that we'd have to get over today and tomorrow to make up, pretty much get 7,500 over like today and tomorrow. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And honestly, my vocal cords are probably going to be very, very appreciative of that because I thought about that after I made that wager. I'm like, I could really end up regretting it. Like there would not be enough Gatorade for me to drink or lemon juice for me to drink to talk with that raspiness for 30 minutes. Brent said, we're trying. Hey, I appreciate the effort, guys. I mean, seriously, any way you guys support this show, we really appreciate it. Again, if you're just tuning in, you're wondering where the heck is Corey? Why is Chris talking his ear off or talking our ears off? Dude, there's not enough salt water to deal with doing Tony Romo for 30 minutes. It's a raspiness, and yeah. It's probably done best done in small doses, and I think everybody thinks that when they're watching games that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are calling. But if you're wondering where Corey is, Corey slid it. First off, I was ready to do the show, or at least start the show by myself, because he's working on the South Side. He's there. He's in the locker room talking with Kenny. Talking with all those guys, and literally 10 seconds before we go live, Corey just automatically shows up here, in our live stream, when I'm about to hit the live button. And so we're switching banners over and everything like that. We're like, man, we're going to get this ready. And then, Corey's, internet was not great. It wasn't the normal spot he sets up in. And, for those who don't know, the internet on the South Side is not great. It really, even something as simple as uploading a 30-second video to YouTube is not easy to do. So the internet wasn't great. Corey had to run, but so if you're wondering where he is, that's where Corey is. Should be back tomorrow, maybe. I haven't looked at the practice schedule yet. I'm going to look at that later today, because I'll get it set up in our Steelers feed later for tomorrow. But you're near saltwater if you're in Texas. Well, yeah, the Gulf, and you couldn't pay me to drink or to put Gulf water in my mouth. You could not pay me. Anybody who has been in the Gulf of Mexico knows what I'm talking about. That water is not pristine whatsoever. Not unless you're like in Cancun or Cozumel or a place like that. Like, it's just not happening. I've been, my family and I go down to Galveston once a year, usually every summer it's usually for like, we take an extra Friday or whatever, or an extra day on like a Friday, and we go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll go down to Galveston. There's always stuff to do down on the strip down there. And it's a nice little getaway for a weekend. And we usually do it every summer. Sometimes we do it with extended family, like my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and my nephew and niece. And, it's, I've been in the Gulf of Mexico. No desire to put that water in my mouth whatsoever. Robert says, shot of whiskey. I'm in Louisiana. Dude, if you looked over in that direction where my kitchen is, I've got a whole cupboard that's got about 7 or 8 bottles of whiskey in there. I got scotch. I got bourbon. I've got, I got a Texas whiskey in there. Balcones Brimstone, really, really good stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to whiskey. I'm a whiskey fan for sure. Brent, okay, never mind. Sorry, guys. Galveston, talk about dirty water. Yeah, you're not kidding. Darren asks, what's my best bottle? We're talking about whiskey now. My best bottle, I would probably say, and for those of you who are fans of the show Parks and Rec, Nick Offerman, the guy who plays Ron Swanson, he has his own line of Lagavulin Scotch. It's a little pricey, depending on what your addition of pricey is. $90 for me is pretty pricey, but it's a $90 bottle of Scotch, and it is absolutely delicious. Phenomenal stuff. Justin says Buffalo Trace for the win. That is really, really good bourbon. Probably my favorite bourbon right now, especially for like stuff that's like not like top shelf stuff, is actually Maker's Mark number 46. Very, very good stuff, by the way. Yeah, Darren knows what's up. Lagavulin Swanson is a good bottle. It's very, very good. That's probably my best bottle that I have right now. I got the 8-year Lagavulin in there too. Crown. Yeah, Crown's okay. I mean, it's not too bad. But Scotch is, I like the peatiness of Scotch. I do. I got everything from like your basic Scotches like Johnny Walker Black, and I've got, really peaty stuff. Like the 8-year Lagavulin is really peaty. So Michener, dude, that is some good whiskey too. Good stuff. We got a lot of whiskey fans here. Appreciate that. But yeah, so here we're getting near the end, hitting the 30-minute mark. It's all good. Hey guys, whenever Corey's not here, we can talk about obviously we are here to talk about Steelers football. I will talk about Steelers football till everybody's hearts are content. But when you guys want to talk about anything, especially when Corey's not here, which that won't happen very often, it happened today because of bad internet. It might happen again on Friday because he's traveling for Pitt. You guys are my co-hosts here. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. All right. Like for real. I'll talk about whiskey. I'll talk about TV shows. I'll talk about whatever you want. Hey, Sticky. All right. Okay. I feel a little bit better now for talking about whiskey for like 5 minutes. It's Whiskey Wednesday. All right. That's fine. That's fine. But final thought here from me. I'll pour one out for Corey, by the way, for him not being able to be here. But final thought for today is, to go back to kind of end on the theme today that we started with is, when it comes to this whole Dan Moore, Broderick Jones thing, the more and more I think about it, it's like sometimes it doesn't make that much sense to me. Like it doesn't make sense that like guys like Artie Burns and Shamarko Thomas and like all these guys, they got their opportunities like right away. And Kendrick Green even got his opportunity like right away. He was pretty much handed the job. And I think more often than not, oh, dude, Darren, thank you so much, man. $5 contribution for your next bottle. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. But yeah, when it comes to this stuff, some of those guys came in and they, like I said, they were just kind of handled the job. Or handed the job. Not that Mike Tomlin said, here you go on a silver platter. They kind of earned it, but it really didn't seem like they like earned it like the way that Broderick Jones or Joey Porter Jr. are having to earn theirs. And I think that the main reason why is because a lot of the times those just didn't work out. Like it just didn't. Like Kendrick Green did not pan out. It just didn't. Like I understand like he was starting to look good with Houston before he got injured and everything like that, but it didn't work for whatever reason, whether it was the scheme, whether it was his, style, his style of playing and how, whether that just wasn't a fit or whatever it was, it didn't work. And I think that Mike Tomlin, it just doesn't want to be like the guy who's like constantly giving rookies, their jobs too fast, because I think he has been burned on that quite a bit. And I used that pun yesterday. I'll use it again today. He's just been burned on that. And so maybe that's the reason why. And maybe, like I said, Mike Tomlin's playing the game with all of us, and Broderick Jones will be the starter on Sunday. Maybe he will be, regardless of whether Dan Moore is healthy or not. Maybe he will be the guy, and maybe it is now the Broderick Jones era at left tackle. I hope it is. I think that, from what I've seen on film, I think that is the best option for the Steelers going forward. I'm not saying that from any kind of biased perspective. I'm just from what I'm seeing on film based off of performance and the fact that Broderick Jones came in first start against the Ravens. Mike Tomlin knows what that game means, and he performed really well. I don't know. I would also give Joey Porter the job, but and Jerry says, why not play them both? I mean, you could. I mean, like for real, like in theory, you could. But I think like in terms of like being like the guy at left tackle, like it's kind of like the same thing with like once Tomlin made the decision to go to Kenny from Mitch last year, there's no going back. It's like once you actually name Broderick Jones the starter, and he's not named the starter yet. Like technically on the depth chart, Dan Moore's still the guy. So Broderick Jones, like it's like once you say, okay, he's our starting left tackle, I don't think you go back from that. You traded up for this guy in the first round. Once he's the guy, and you're not going back. So I think Mark Shamarko Thomas years. Yeah, I pulled that one out of left field. I think Corey actually brought that one up, and that's what put the name in my mind. But yeah, it's and Dan Moore like very well could be like, especially if they get any weaker at guard, like Dan Moore, like I think Dan Moore would actually be a really good guard, but I also think he also could be a pretty decent right tackle. And I think either way you slice it, if Broderick Jones comes in and he's the left tackle, I think whether it's Chooks or Dan Moore, one of those two guys is a pretty good swing tackle. A guy who has to, guy gets injured, we have to plug a guy in. Okay. I think that's the best role for them. All right, guys, we're about 5 minutes over from normal time. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for all for the contributions, for the donations, for your comments, for your questions, for the gifted memberships. Appreciate you guys for everything. Tomorrow we will try to run this like we normally do with Corey and I don't know if Corey if it's an earlier practice today or if it's going to be another attempt at low quality Corey tomorrow from the South Side. But either way, we're going to try to swing it again. And then, that's going to be it. So, thank you guys so much. Darren, appreciate you guys. And we'll talk tomorrow. Peace out, guys.